Hello and welcome to Vertex BD Training for Beginners. Whether you build with steel or wood, this training video will help you to transition to a proficient Vertex BD designer in minimal time. The training focuses on various tools for completing a two-story project from basement to roof. The wood version is primarily used throughout the training video, but both are similar. We will switch to the steel version when appropriate to bring attention to any fundamental differences between the two versions. Search our online documentation and videos for more in-depth content. Support is available at your fingertips, from how-to articles to various instructional videos. Follow along at your own pace and view any segments over until you have a clear understanding of the subject matter. So when you start Vertex BD, you'll see the welcome dialog appear. From here, you can start a new project, open an existing project. You can view recently opened projects, select it, and hit OK to open that specific project. But in this case, we're going to select New Project. Down at the bottom here where it says Don't Show This Dialog at Next Startup, if you check that box, you will not see this window appear when you start a new project. You'll have to start a new project by going to the File menu to start a new project or open an existing project. Let's go ahead and make sure we have New Project and select OK. Next, we have the New Project dialog. On the left side, we see Project Use, Building, and Building Group. We're going to select Building. Typically, you'll select Building for all your projects. Building Group. A building group is used when creating a building component, such as a kitchen layout or a garage layout that can be used as a predefined component for future projects. In this case, we're going to go with Building, since this is a project. Now over on the right is the project ID, basically the name of the file. In this case, we're going to call it Training 1. You can use up to 16 characters or less, no invalid Windows characters, and it's best to use an underscore or a hyphen instead of a space. Here's a list of the invalid window characters that you can't use. Next, we have the name field. This is a description of the project that you can give it, if you want to give it a little bit more description so you know what this is. You can use spaces here, which is fine. Let's go ahead and just call this training session project. Now under based on, we're going to leave it at template, and it's going to use the template-ZL template drawing to bring in the settings to this project. Now, if we wanted to use settings from a different project that we created, we can select local project, hit browse, search for that project, and when we create this new project, it'll port over those settings into this new training or into your new drawing. In this case, we're going to go into template and leave it at template-ZL. Design stream is an add-on option, which we won't cover in this training session. In version 30 or later of the steel version of BD, the classic wall framing and the newer layer-based wall framing system have been combined into one installation. Prior versions of BD had separate software installations for the classic and layer-based wall framing systems. Using the classic or layer-based wall framing is done by selecting the appropriate template when creating a new building. Select the template Classic to use the classic wall framing system, or select the template ZL template to use the layer-based wall framing system. Update layer scheme. If you have a project that's old and you've modified your layers and your layer scheme, and this is an older project that doesn't have the new layer scheme applied to it, you can check that box and update it so that the new recent layer scheme that you've modified is applied to the old drawing. Now you have the store in. This is where we want to store the project. We'll leave it under projects, but there are other locations. Building groups, projects, shared, and template are default locations. You can add your own as far as a specific storage location that you would like to save projects to, but we'll just go with the default for now. So we're going to select projects. We won't be going over project data card from. That's a customization that we won't be covering in this training session. Now there's also a help button. So if you select the help, you'll get the manual up here, and you can look for any topics that you may want help on. But I think we're all good to go here with training 1. Let's just hit OK to start the new project. Next, we have the project data dialog. We have the project data tab. building data, connection data, and engineering data. All these tabs here. We'll go through each one of these one by one. With the project data, we have some general information, the project ID, which is the name that we just assigned, the date created, and if this was a project that you accessed over and over, there will be a time log. This is a new project, though time log doesn't exist yet. Project name, that's a description that we gave this project, and if we want to add the date, a delivery date, hit the update button, we'll add the current date to that, or you can manually type one in. Save location, we're using the default projects. It's an active drawing. That's the status. Drawn by, we can select a user from our address book or our contacts. In this case, we haven't modified those. We'll cover that in a little bit. This project is based on the template ZL template. And if we wanted to use this project as a template, we could hit this drop down and change it to a number 1 value, and then this would become a template, which is still just a basic project. Next, we have the customer data section. General information there about your customer. You can manually input this information, or if the customer exists in your address book, you can hit the select and search for the customer. Select them and hit OK. In this case, we haven't modified any of this information, so we'll just hit cancel. Same with the building site. If you have a location that you're building numerous projects and you have the address already in your database, you can hit the select button and look for an address. Again, we don't have one in there, so we'll just hit cancel. Down at the lower right corner, there's notes. If we want to create some notes for this project, we can select our notes template. If we want to just give it a description, a little bit longer description, we can use that template. Some notes in text format or a doc format. Assume WoodP is wood panel notes. But if you wanted to use something like, let's just say description, and we wanted to add some more information, we can open up that file and type in some information about this project. So we can say this is a training session drawing, and just hit save. I'm going to do a save as so I can show you where this file is stored. So I'm going to do a file, save as, and I'll just leave it as plain text document. Now, these notes are stored under our project. So our default location for this is it's under shared projects, and the name of the ID, project ID that we assigned. And under that is a folder called notes. And within that, you'll see the templates that are in there. We've left ours under description. So we'll just hit save and override it and replace that one. Yes. And so now we have this little notes file stored there. Now down in this left corner, we have active project revisions, title block, and PDF print management. We have 3 different buttons here. Let's go under, let's select master revision database. Here we can add a list of revisions. So if you want to keep track of your revisions, you can add a row, add this information, phase, revision number, dates, all this information here, and to keep track. And if we want to apply this to our title blocks automatically, we can apply these revisions to our title blocks or our drawings automatically by clicking that button. In this case, we'll just hit cancel. And no, we don't want to save that. Next, we have manage our sheet title blocks. These are all our drawing sheets that are within this project. If we click on that button, you'll see a list of sheets. We have a cover sheet, standard elevations, foundation, basement, electricals. It shows you over here on this column that they're active. So if we created these sheets, they're available. There's the size. So these are set up for 11 by 17. You can hit this drop down and assign it a different size. Then you need to be aware of though your drawing file, which is the template that it's using, in this case, let's say under basement floor plan, the B04 or BFP basement floor plan template, that's a B size sheet. So it's 11 by 17. You would need to have a, if you want to use a 24 by 36, you would need to have a D size template for this basement floor plan in order for it to print correctly or go to a PDF correctly. Just be aware of that. The sheet ID, how these are organized, with page sequence, the drawing title, the scale, if there's a scale or no scale assigned to it, the person who's drawn it, so it's a drawn by or checked by, you can either select them from your address book. In this case, we don't have anyone in there yet, so we'll leave it as is. And again, these are the templates assigned to those sheets. And if we want to assign master revisions, you can just turn them on by hitting the X. And when we apply a revision to the entire sheet, to all the sheets, these sheets are accepting of the revision. And so it will apply to the master revisions. And these are just stating that it's a template, is what these drawings are. Down at the bottom, similar to the master revision dialog that we saw earlier, we can add a row. So if you want to add a specific revision to only one sheet, let's say the second floor plan, we can add a row and type in a revision. Maybe we had a revision that was only specific to that sheet, and then we can apply it. And we can also pull a master revision and add it to that sheet too, as well as manually. So if you don't want to do it globally and apply the master revision to all of them, you can do it individually if only specific sheets were affected. And then you can also go back to your master revisions sheet and edit that. There's an options condition up here. We're not going to go over options, but if you have these sheets and you want to apply it, if you have an option system set up and you want to apply it to, maybe you have a option with the extra exterior trim, you can set that up there, but we're not going to cover options in this training session. I'm going to hit cancel, and no, don't want to save. Now we have edit PDF print settings. We select that, we get the PDF output settings dialog. This is a list of sheets that we can create a booklet. So if you want to put your sheets together, all your drawing sheets into one PDF document, you can do that. In this case, we've got several different PDF booklets. So we've got a B-size plan set, B-size for wall panel layouts, different types of panel PDF sets for stacking order for floors. We can select which ones specifically that we want to add to a floors, trusses, or walls panel set. In this case, let's say we want to put together an architectural set of drawings. Here's the B-size plan set, and these are all the drawings that are in this plan set. If you want to remove some of these that you don't see are necessary, you can just make them inactive by just changing that to the minus sign, and it will not add those to your PDF set. So on the left side, we have the order number of these sheets, the PDF book that they belong to or associated with. It's active. If it's got an X, the drawing name, or is it a panel type? So in this case, if we scroll down, you'll see that this PDF set looks for wall panels, and this one looks for floor panels, and this one's for roof panels. So it's a separate type of PDF set. Over to the right is the drawing file, which is the template. For in this case, the second floor electrical plan has the 10-2 electric template assigned to it. As you can see, the first floor has a different one for 1 FP for first floor. The B designates the B size. So like I said, if you needed to go with a D size sheet over here on this side, and you want a D size plan set, you want to make sure that you have a drawing file that's a D size template so that it prints correctly. Over on the right is the layer group. So in this case, for the floor plan, there's a floor plan plot set. So it's using those. So it's turning on the correct layers that are required for a floor plan. In this case, you can see just above it, there's the basement floor plan, which is using a foundation layering group. So you'll want to make sure that when you're creating your drawings, if you're doing it manually, that you're setting the correct layer group. Sheet size, it's going to use the default sheet size, which is based off the plan set. And then update text. This will update the text on the title block. And again, there's option conditions, which we won't be covering those. So let's go ahead and hit cancel. Won't make any changes there. Under the building data tab, you can add house details. You can add, if you have a house collection name, a style, you can add square foot sizes, number of rooms that you have, or you can toggle on any standard and available features within this project. Again, it's just general information. So next we have the connection data tab. This is where you can keep track of contacts for this specific project. You can type in their name manually and all their information, or you can hit the select button to access the address book and select them from that list if they're available. In this case, we're going to actually add an address. We're going to add a contact. To add contacts, you can go to the Edit Address Book. Here you'll see some placeholders that are currently in there as a default when you first install Vertex BD. You can edit these. If you want to assign a designer here, you can go ahead and edit that information, put your own info there and update that. In this example, let's say we want to add an architect for this project that's associated with this project. I'm going to right click and add a row after. Actually, what you'll probably want to do is select a row, right click, add a row after that selected row. I'm going to hit X for, actually, if he's a BD user, you can hit X. Most likely the architect may not be, so we'll just leave that at blank. You can add a contact code, which we won't. A company name. I'm going to call this something architecture. Let's just call it AAA designers. Something like that. We'll just give him his name as John Doe, and his initials are JD, and he is in the architect category or group. We'll just put in an address of 1 First Street, and he lives in Seattle, Washington. And we'll just go 87777, something like that. And we'll just put USA. We can add the phone and fax and email information. Let's just put a phone number. Call it good. 111-222-3333. And that's good enough. And we'll hit OK. And he's now part of our address book. So if you have a job and he's the architect for the job, we can go in and hit select. And because he's in the architect group, it will be listed there. And then now you can select him and his information will get added to the list. And you can do that for constructor, designer, supervisors, any of these fields, as well as your own staff as well. Next, we want to go into the engineering data. Under that tab, this is just general information that you can keep track of your design loads. So if you know what the snow loads are, truss loads, roof loads, you can put that in and just have it be part of this project, though it's not being used in the project. It's just for informational purposes only. Now that we've got all that filled in, we can hit OK to create our project. Let's take a moment and talk about the Vertex project folder structure. In Vertex, when working with a project, we're working with a folder with numerous folders and files. In other CAD programs, you may be working with one file only, but in Vertex, that's not the case. Let's take a look at the folder structure for a project. So in Windows, use the file browser and go to C drive and maybe in a folder called VXBD or Vertex. Mine's going to be a little different than what you have. And inside that folder, you should see a custom, shared, system, and user folder. So if we go through the list here, custom is where any custom changes that you make. This is your custom environment. It'll store those changes there. Shared is where the projects will reside inside there, as well as any other shared files and folders. System is the Vertex system files and folders, and then user is where any files specific to your installation are stored there. Let's go into shared. And there you should see several more folders. Let's go to the projects folder. This is one of the storage locations, default storage locations, which we selected when we first started the project. So we're just keeping it in here. So let's go into projects. And there's the training one drawing that we created at the start. Now inside there is numerous files and folders. And this is what BD is using when we're working with the project. Now, if you need to send this project to someone, export it to a VXZ. That way it compresses all these files and folders, and you can do that through Windows, or you can do it through Vertex. So let's go ahead and go back one. And in the projects folder, if you want to compress it, you can select the project name, right click, and select compress to a zip file. And that'll take all the files and folders, compress them down to a single zip file. Or if you have a other piece of software that compresses files and folders, you can use that instead. To do this in Vertex, we'll need to go into Vertex. Now, if you want to export the file that's currently open, you can go into File, Export, Export Project to VXZ file. VXZ is the Vertex format of a zip file. Once you select that, it'll prompt you to where do you want to store this VXZ file. Hit OK, and it will create the compressed file. From that point, you can email it or upload it to wherever you need to share it. Another way to compress files is to go to Archives, Export. When you click this, you can export several projects at one time. So if we click Export, check each box that for the projects that you want to export. Hit OK, and again, you'll be prompted for a destination, and it will export each one of these. And then from there, you can upload or move the VXZ file wherever you need to. Let's get out of this. To import a VXZ, go to the Archives tab and select Import. Make sure that your files of type is set to .vxz format. Or you can also import by going to the File menu, Import projects from VXZ or zip files. And under Files of Type, make sure you're set to the VXZ format. Okay, let's continue with our training session. Before we begin adding any components to the project, 3 fundamental parameters need to be set up first: the drawing model pairs, project levels, and the wall panelization settings. Let's set up the active drawing model pairs first. To access the drawing model pairs, we need to go into the project document browser, go into settings, expand the drawing model pairs settings, select active drawing model pairs. In this dialog, you'll see a list of all the drawing model pairs that are part of the template that we used. Each model pair has a model drawing with an associated framing drawing. So you'll see a model.vxm and a framing.vxm. Now you can ignore the ones that are unchecked. Those are not being used in this project, though they are available. If we scroll down, you'll notice that we have a basement, first and second level that are active. So that should be on. We're going to add a third. So let's click the third level. We'll add that to the project. Let's go ahead and hit OK. Now to see that that third level has been added, we'll go to the Open Drawing Model Pair icon here, double click, and you'll see that we now have a third level model pair added to this project. Hit Escape to get out. Next, we need to edit the 3D levels. So let's go back to the project document browser to expand the location and height, and double click 3D levels. The 3D levels dialog is made up of a list view and a cross-section view with some radio selections here. So in the list view, it lists all the levels that are part of this template. Obviously, we're not utilizing all of them, so we just need to really focus on the first, second, and third floors. And over on the right side in the cross-section view, you can zoom in. So if you use your wheel mouse, you can zoom into those levels that we need to focus on. You'll notice that there's some dimensions in this cross-section. Those are the heights. The one to the left is the floor-to-floor height, and the other dimension is the room height. And we can adjust those by double-clicking the dimension and making the modifications. Or you can also edit the heights by the list view here and updating those values. Now you may see some values here that are a little bit different. They represent, like, for example, this 17 foot, 10 and an eighth, I believe. That dimension is based off of this 0 origin. So that level, the third floor level, is that distance from the 0 mark. And you can see that dimension in the cross section. So you'll notice that's the distance from that 0 mark. So you can go in and edit that value if you want and make it higher or lower. Obviously, that'll affect the structure. So you want to be careful how you do that. The 3D level is made up of a top plane, which is noted as the floor, and the bottom of the plane is the ceiling. And in between that is the distance of the floor system. So in this case, we have a 2x10 floor system. So I have a 9 1/4 depth plus a 3/4 inch sheathing, which adds up to 10 inches. So that's why there's a -10. So it's -10 inches from that top dimension or plane. So when these heights are modified, the walls, associated walls, will also adjust with these. Down here, you'll see a display 3D levels in model checkbox. You can turn that on if you want to see the 3D levels in your model. You'll see the planes in the model. Turn them off by just coming back in here and checking the box. Down here, you have when floor thickness changes, you can choose between fixed room height or fixed floor to floor height. In this case, in this example, we'll leave it at fixed room height. And we're going to change the first floor level to a 9 foot 1 1/8. But we also need to determine how do we want the structure affected when we make that change. So if we do that, do we want the fixed room height to be the priority or the fixed floor to floor height? And like I said, we'll leave it at room height, fixed room height. So we'll go in and change that to 9 foot 1 1/8. And everything adjusts upwards. You'll notice that the room didn't shrink by a foot. This just extended everything upward, so it maintained the fixed room height that we set. And that also applies when we adjust the floor depth. It will maintain these room heights, so the structure will increase or decrease if the floor depth is modified. Let's go ahead and change the floor depth for the first and second floor to a 2x12 system. So to do that, we'll go over to under floor and ceiling. Let's go to first floor. And when you select first floor or any of the floor levels, you'll notice that there will be a green icon or little dot up here. And that's just indicating which floor level you selected within this cross-section structure. So we've got the first floor. We're going to change that to a 2x12. So we'll right click. We can insert a 3D level, a separate 3D level, and insert a sub level. And I'll talk about those here towards the end. We're not going to utilize those on this project, but I will come back to those in a bit. Then there's select floor or ceiling, which we want to select the system. If we were to select default, down in the floor selections, in our system selections, you'll see the floor 2x10 framing is highlighted, and that's the default for this level. Up here at the top under structure libraries and types, these are all the different libraries that have floor systems. You'll see that we have some engineered wood products that have floor systems within them. So if you want to use a EWP floor system, you can do that. But we're just going to go back to frame floors. Also, there's slabs as well. If you scroll down, you'll get to slabs and some ground options as well. But we're just going to go to frame floors. And we're going to select a floor 2x12. We'll just highlight that. Now, a floor system is made up of layers, which in this case is a framing system. We've got a 2x12 framing system, and then a sheeting layer as well, so 3/4 inch. And then you'll see the thicknesses here. So this would be an even 12 inches. So 3/4 inch plus 11 1/4 adds up to 12 inches. And once we've got that set up, we'll hit OK and apply it. And now you'll see that there's a 2x12 floor system. And let's just do the exact same thing to the second floor. So right click, select floor and ceiling, and it remembers our last selection. So the 2x12 framing is highlighted, so we can just hit OK. Now, if you're using the steel version of Vertex BD, the 3D levels is very similar, other than when you go into select your floor and ceiling, you will have steel components instead. But other than that, the UI is going to be pretty much identical. So in this project for steel, I think we'll use a 12-inch floor system. How about something like the 1200 S254 cc? That one has 3/4 inch ply. And just go ahead and hit OK. And we'll apply that to the second floor if you haven't done so already. But other than that, it's pretty much similar to the wood version. Now I'm going to briefly just touch on these two options here under the floor and ceiling. Insert 3D level and insert sublevel. We're not going to utilize these, so don't worry about replicating these steps. Insert 3D level, you can actually add your own or a independent level. I'll just do that here and add a different level that's part of this project. You'll see that there's a new level down below, new 3D level. You can call it whatever you want by just highlighting that name. I'm just going to call it, I'll just leave it at new level, new 3D level. That's fine. And it can be a ceiling, which would be the bottom of a level, or it can be the top, which would be floor. I'll just go with floor. And then it's got the height based off the origin. So if I zoom in right now, if I was to hit OK, it's going to be identically set at this level. And you can see that there's new 3D level represented right next to floor level because they're sharing the same height. But if I wanted to put this up at a different level, let's say somewhere above the second floor in between here, maybe let's say that's 10 foot. So maybe I want to put that at roughly in between. So let's say 14 feet. So I'll just go in here, type in 14 feet. And now that if I zoom in, you'll see that I have a new 3D level at 14 feet based off the origin. Now, when you make any adjustments to walls and link it to these levels, if you modify the second floor or any of the other floors, that's independent, so it's not going to move. If you adjust the height for this second floor, this new third level is not going to move. And you'll see that there's a 3 foot 10 and 7/8 dimension between the second floor and the new 3D floor. If we were to make an adjustment to that, this level won't change. So we went up 2 feet, then this would be a reduced distance. Now, there is a way that we can have that move up, but let me go back 1 second. You can also right-click and select a floor system for that. So again, same thing. We can go in, maybe we want to make this one a 2x6 floor. It's some sort of platform or something. We can hit OK. And we have a 2x6 floor system that's applied to that plane. So the underneath that would be a 2x6 system. Now, another way, I'm going to go ahead and we can delete that. You can use a sub-level that will adjust. So if you were to move this second floor up, then the sub-level would adjust with that floor as well. So let's say we go to floor system, and I'm going to add a sub-level that's linked to that floor. And I'm going to make it a floor, so it'll be the top of the level. And I'm going to call this loft or something like that. So we have a loft that's associated with that second level. And let's say it's about 3 feet. And so now we'll see that it is 3 feet off that second floor. Now, if we were to adjust that floor level, let's say this room height is going to be larger. We're going to make that a 10-foot room. I'm going to go in and double click that dimension and make that 10 feet. Now that room's increased in size, but you'll notice that the 3-foot distance between the loft and the second floor is maintained because it's linked to it. If we go in and change the bottom floor down here, let's say we make it 12 feet. It just shifted it up, and you'll notice that it maintained the 3 feet as well. So it's linked to that. Now, if you want to make that change, that distance change needs to be made in the list view over here on the left. 16 inches. Go ahead and save. I'm going to cancel mine. That way I don't add these modifications to my project. The next setting that we need to adjust are the project parameters. And these control how the walls will be panelized. To access the project parameters, back over on the left side, Project Document Browser, Design Settings, Project Parameters. Bring this over to the center. You have wall framing sets for each level. So we have first, second, third. We'll need to make those modifications for each one. We'll just go over one of them right now. So let's go over the first level wall framing. In this area, we can set up our links for our panel breaks. So we can come down and set up the max panel length. In this case, we have 192 inches. If you do not want to panelize and you want your walls to just be continuous without any panel breaks, you'll come down and hit the longest or the largest value. In this case, it would be 800, or you can type in something larger if you like. 800 should be sufficient. Otherwise, set your preferred max length for your panels. You have a minimum length. That should be fine. I don't think that requires any adjustment. And the preferred lengths, it shows all the different lengths that would be created in this project. If you want less lengths, maybe you only want 3 different lengths, you can go through and adjust these values. If you do not want any panels, just go in and select the largest value and assign that. Down at details, you have how corner compounds. This is set to none, but if you click on there, you can see the corner compound angle details, and you can select one that you would like to use in this project. I'll leave it at empty at none. And then you have a plate break detail, and you've got the double top plates if you want to lap, which is the default, or you can just make it flush to the top plates. And to activate the detail, just select the diamond. I'll leave it as is. And you'll want to do that this is for the exterior bearing walls. If you come down here, you'll see several tabs. You'll need to do that for your exterior non-bearing, interior non-bearing walls. The next setting is the first level wall set. And here there really isn't much of an adjustment other if you want to address your rough opening window heights. So if you want to change your window height, your rough opening heights, from the default 82 inches, you can do that. Just click in there and type in a different value or select one of the defaults there. And then you want to do that for each level here. So first level, second, third for this project. I'm just going to leave everything as is and hit cancel because I don't need to make those changes. We'll just let it panelize based on the default settings. It is important to mention at the time of this recording, a new version of BD, version 30, was released that includes an update to the Opening Projects user interface. In versions prior to version 30, the Opening Projects UI looks like this. The main panel lists all the projects and displays information like the project ID, name, created by, and other information. Project attributes like the project ID, created by, and customer information is displayed in the upper left panel. In the lower left panel, the user can modify how projects can be organized based on the classification information. This is useful for organizing projects without actually creating folders. As long as the information is linked to the attributes, the information will be shown in the lower left panel. The default is set to organize the projects based on the mass storage volumes, the projects, template, and shared locations. If you add any of your own storage locations, they will also be displayed here. To change how the projects are organized in this window, select the Modify Classification button. Select an attribute from the All Attributes panel, and use an arrow pointing to the right to move the attribute over to the Used Attributes panel. PROJ_MS is the attribute for the mass storage volumes. This is the location where projects are stored on the computer. You can add multiple attributes and organize them using the Move Up and Move Down buttons. To remove an attribute, select the arrow pointing to the left to move the attribute back to the All Attributes panel. I will leave my attributes as per the default setting. There's also a search field for finding projects. To open the latest version of the project, make sure the box is checked. When importing projects, if the project is not listed in the Projects List panel, select the Update List to refresh the project list. In the latest version, version 30 at the time of this recording, the Opening Projects UI has been updated to look like this. The left panel displays the local mass storage volumes as well as folders for favorites, history, and a sync folder for projects stored on Vertex's Sync cloud service. We will not be covering Vertex's Sync in the training videos. Please refer to online documentation regarding Sync. The main panel shows columns with various project information such as the project ID, customer, save locations, and other information. To edit columns, select the Edit Columns icon. Column fields can be toggled on and off by the checkboxes in the Select Fields window. To add different information, check the Show All box to display all the available attributes that can be added to the main panel. Additional changes can be made to the browser settings by selecting the Settings icon. You can toggle on and off the project preview and change the preview size. You can also toggle on and off the project data. The data is displayed when moving the cursor over the project in the main panel. Access additional tools by selecting a project and right mouse clicking to bring up the context menu. Use the Find tool to locate a project. You can also change how the projects are displayed in the main panel. Select between large or small icons, list, and detail views. Select the Add to Favorites to include the projects in the Favorites folder. Copy a building, open a building, and make changes to the building data by selecting Edit Card. And you can also remove a building by selecting Delete. Now that we have our settings completed for this project, we can move on to walls.